Welcome to another video. Today I will be showing you guys how my husband and I split our expenses. I recently received a comment on my what I spent in a day video from a lovely subscriber who had watched all 30 videos. Kudos to you for doing that. And the question was, how do my husband and I split our expenses? So if you're new to the channel, what you may not have noticed is that when I budget each month, I am budgeting my expenses. So there are a few expenses that are not included in there, primarily the mortgage, the water bill, and then there's a few non-monthly expenses that we tackle as they come up. I thought this was a great question and I don't have a video on my channel explaining it, so let's get into it. I did some thinking about the best way to demonstrate how I do this, and the easiest way for me to show others is through Google Sheet. When my husband and I initially did this, it was just with pen and paper. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to recreate it here and I'll do my best to talk you through it as I go along. One thing that I will say is that while I am very open, I don't mind sharing because I feel like that's how we all get better. I am not going to share actual numbers for my husband because that's his information. He may not be comfortable with me sharing those numbers, but I'll do my best to show some examples in hopes that it'll help other couples who may decide to do their finances this way. So let's get started. Essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jot down our monthly bills. If you notice, this is everything for the household. I just input it and then I'm going to total it up at the bottom of the screen. I thought that was the auto sum button, but it was not. All right, so this is just an example. I'm going off of an old list that I had of our household bills. Some of these things are subject to change, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. The first step is to write down all of your monthly shared expenses. This is everything that comes out of the household on a monthly basis. This does not include non-monthly expenses like our HOA is annual and also our pest control is annual. We tend to decide how we're going to handle those as they come up. I think we used to split it, but as of late, how it's been working is sometimes if he has extra money, he'll pay it. If not, I'll pay it. I include the non-monthly expenses in my YNAB just in case. And then if I don't end up using that money, I just reallocate it to other non-monthly expenses. It also does not include personal expenses. So what counts as a personal expense? For us, personal expenses include any dining out we might do. The way we handle that is we're very flexible with it. Sometimes he'll pay, sometimes I'll pay, and then sometimes we'll split it. It also does not include any hobby spending. So I have a lot of hobbies. He has not so many. This channel is called A Spender's Guide to Budgeting because I like stuff. I'm trying to minimalize things in my life, but at the end of the day, I do enjoy things. Lately, I've been on a e-ink device kick. I've been buying all kind of e-readers. I crochet, I knit. I am also occasionally I'll get a new purse, I'll get wallets. It does not include clothes spending. And it also does not include our vehicles. Although our car insurance is shared, we each are responsible for our own monthly vehicle payments. We each handle those separately. I'm responsible for mine, he's responsible for his. And the same thing with things like credit cards. We do not have any shared credit cards. So his credit cards count as his monthly expenses and he keeps track of those, and I do the same for mine. So that's just how we do it. And the reason that we do it like this, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but me and my husband have been together a long time, since we were late teens, 18, 19. And so we didn't really have a good role model for what to do as a couple, and we just tried to figure things out. We did at some point try to have a joint account, but at the time he was more of a saver than I was, and I was a spender, and so we used to bump heads about just the spending I was doing. And so The reason that this has worked for us is because initially what we did, we would just take the total and divide it by 2. And this was, let me cut and paste this. And this was the per person amount. So I would be responsible for 1557. He would be responsible for 1557. And we just did it that way, just straight down the middle. And the easiest way that to do that, if you notice, like what we try to do is we try to take this 1557, and to make it easier and cleaner, we would just divide the bills that way. So if he needed to pay 1557, he could probably like take the mortgage and maybe take like CPI security or another bill. So it would equal just about that amount. And so he would own those 2 bills, and I would take everything else as far as the little bills. If groceries go over, it's not really that big of a deal. Another way that we've done it is if, let's say my income is, let's say $5,000 a month, and his income is, let's say $5,500 a month, what we would do is I would total this up, and then this equals, I do percentages. Sorry, math is hard. And then I would also do a formula here, F4 divided by F5, and that would give me a percentage. My income would be 47% of the bills. His income would be 52% of the bills. I'm going to put percentage per person, and then we would take this amount, this percentage, and multiply it by the total. Take this percentage, multiply it by the total. And this would be the per person amount that each person is responsible for. If you didn't want to split it in half, this is a little more complicated to do as far as doing percentages per person and dividing it this way. The math is a little more complicated, right? Overall, and splitting the bills, you can still segment this out almost very similarly, but a lot of people don't want to do percentages. Now, the good thing about this way of doing things is that if one person makes more than the other person, I just changed his amount to be twice my income. So if one person makes significantly more than their partner, what this does is that it changes how much each person has to pay. And it also allows the partner that doesn't make as much to still contribute to the household bills, but not feel restricted. Because if one person has significantly more income and you're paying an equal amount of bills, there may be something that, let's say my husband wanted a $15,000 add-on to the house, and I can't afford to pay for that out of my portion of the bills. It could cause tension. But if you do it by percentages, because there's a large pay gap, then this helps ease that burden. This makes sure that both people can still contribute to the household, and both people still have income left over for personal spending. It's not so restrictive on the person with the lower income. This method is really good for the situations where there may be a disparity. A few years back, we started off 50%, and then as jobs changed, we did the percentage per person, but now we're at a point where our income is about even, and we should probably go back to the 50% per person, but I don't think we've thought about it. The thing that I have learned about myself by doing this is that I have learned over time different ways to save money. So and this is probably the budgeter in me. So if you're a budgeter and your spouse is not, it could benefit the both of you. But in these last few months, I have gotten a quote on my car insurance to save money there. I have stopped upgrading our phones every 2 years and have lowered the plans for the kids to save money on the cell phone bill. Our cell phone bill used to be like $250 to $300 a month. I've gotten it down to $165, and that's for 4 lines. Internet, I try to save money here by signing up for auto pay. Our groceries, I try to do what I can here. It doesn't make me cheap with the groceries, but one of the things is like my local grocery store will send me coupons in the mail. And so when I have coupons, I do use them. I've also recently started getting our groceries from Walmart just because they have better prices. Our Hulu, I actually downgraded from Hulu Live with no ads. And so that saved me money there. And then I signed us up for YouTube TV because they had a 6-month special. Now, this 6-month special will run out in August. And in August, hopefully, Hulu will have a promo going on so I can switch back to Hulu Live. But if not, then I might try to cancel YouTube TV and see if they offer me a promotional discount for like another month or so. I'm going to keep an eye out for different live TV deals towards the end of the year just to see if I can save us some money there. I've tried to save money on each one of my categories. And in saving money on our car insurance, I actually ended up also switching our homeowner's insurance, and that saved my husband $607 a year by choosing a lower insurance plan. So splitting up the bills, it really makes you think about ways you can optimize things and to really lower the overall cost of living, especially with everything getting so expensive. This is how we review our bills. This is how we split our monthly expenses. If you look back at some of my budget with me videos, you will see these as regular bills in my budget. And then I also have a lot of other categories that are for personal things. If anything is unclear or if you have any questions about different things, just let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you next time.